Alright, so here we are back again, and you can see what we've done now is taken the stock wiring connector right here, cut off the ends of it, attached our own female connectors right here, which are now wired into our relay, which is attached to the frame right here. And then we have our female plugs waiting for the LED, which is now connected to the fairing. And then you can see I actually have these wires coming up here to my LED mirror turn signals as well. So essentially on one side all of the wiring is completed, just need to hook up the actual LED indicators. And then if I swing around here real quickly, you can see where our Rizoma LED indicator is actually already on the fairing, ready to go, connected on the inside as well. And there are our plugs, which, as I mentioned, will come right into these female receptacles right here. So we're going to now take a look at how that was actually done. So what we've got here, this is the actual wiring connector off the other side of the bike. So if I come over here, you can see this runs off the wiring harness, connects down to this, which would have been connected to our stock turn signal. We have cut the ends off of it right here, and we are going to fit some 25-cent clips onto the end so that we can do the exact same thing that we've done over here. Okay, one is done. You can see we've got a nice splice on the end of the wire, connector right here. Essentially just slide it in like so. Take a pair of crimpers, crimp it together, and you have a nice solid connection and a wire that is ready for your new LEDs. Okay, so wire is done and built. We are just going to take this right here, connect it back to the stock, which leads to our wiring harness, and then we are slide those together, and we are now ready to hook up our resistor and the LEDs on the other side of the bike. Alright, so let's get the bike in better light so that we can see the other side. Just going to give a quick push here, slide the bike around, and now we can see the other side of the fairing that we need to get to and the new wire that we just created. So one thing I did want to note, and we have to really give the Italians a lot of credit here. Coming out of the wiring harness, you have a dark blue and a light blue, which then leads to this wire, which has two blacks, which then leads to this wire, which has a blue and a brown. So trying to figure out the polarity on these things can be really tough, thanks to this really useful wiring schematic that they've used. But I happen to know that brown is positive, blue is negative, just from trial and error, and so that's what we will go with. Alright, so we've got our connections done now here. Same thing that we have on the other side, male to female, and then we also have the two females that are now waiting for the LED indicator to come in. We have our inline resistor, which we are going to ahead again go ahead and mount to the frame of the bike, ensuring that it is not touching anything else and not touching any plastic on the bike either. So we'll go ahead and get that zip tied there, and then I'll give it a little bit of electrical tape at this end just to hold it in place, and then that's it. The wiring is done on this side as well. We'll go ahead and tuck this back into the wiring harness, make it all nice and pretty and clean it up, and then we are ready to connect our signals. Alright, so we essentially have all the wiring on the front of the bike done. So let's go ahead and spin it around and take a look at the rear of the bike. So there we go. Hopefully you can see that now. But unfortunately for you, a lot of the work on the rear of the bike was already done from my prior LED installation. So you can see I've taken off the carbon fiber wrap, so you can see where I've actually cut this tail entirely. Underneath here we've got a Signal Dynamics load converter that was tapped in to the wiring on the underside of the tail here, and that will go right here for us. And as you can see, I've done the same thing in the rear that we have in the front. Clips all ready to go. Reason I went with the load converter in the back instead of the resistors. On the Mana, this is actually your gas tank area all around here, and really the only thing I had under here were plastic options. So the load converter was just a much easier one piece instead of two resistors, and that will balance out both rear LEDs. So really all we have to do in the rear is hook them up, snap them in, and we're good to go. Alright, so you can see we've gone ahead and screwed one side in. I actually opted for the Rizoma extender on this side, try and bring it out a little bit from the brake light so that it doesn't get washed out at all. You can see wiring straight down, and then it really is as simple as red to red, black to black, cinch them up, and then we will clean up this wiring in the back here, and we will do the same thing on the other side. Alright, so we've gone ahead and screwed the other rear one in as well. So just come back here again and pop our connectors back in, both sides, like so. Cover them up nice and tight, and then again we'll come back up here, we'll clean up all the wiring. But before we do any of that, gonna spin the bike back around, connect the fronts, and just test all of the wiring before we go ahead and put all of the plastics back on it. So go ahead, spin the bike back around, and that way we can hook up the fronts and actually go ahead and test them. Okay, so in order to test all the wiring, what I've done is just made the final connections in here and just laid the fairing next to the bike. The only way to test everything is to reconnect your dash. So I have made that one electrical connection back there just so that the dash is plugged in. I have this fairing. It's not actually mounted, it's just resting up on the bike right now, and the rears are on as well. So let's go ahead and see what happens. Start it up, and we'll try the left side first, and we get normal flash indication there, which is good. And if we come down here, perfect. And on the wing mirror, perfect. And in the rear, perfect. And let's try the other side now. And looks like we've got good wing mirror, and we've got good front, and we've got good rear, and we've got good blink indicator and no bulb indicators. So it looks like all that is left to do at this point is to go ahead and button her back up and reassemble everything, clean up that wiring a little bit, and we'll probably be back here in about 30 minutes and she'll be all done and ready to go.